And we're on. Hello there.
Shalom,
Uh,
shalom.
How are you?
I'm doing well, Gidon, and you?
I'm doing okay. Let me see if I can turn off some of these noises over here. How are you? I asked you that already.
Yeah, I'm doing well. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yeah,
gosh, how long has it been since we've spoken?
it's been a while. I have been to Maryland and back since our last talk.
By foot?
No, no, by plane. Yes, yes. How are
What
things?
brought you to Maryland?
My wife's sister.
Your
Yeah,
wife's sister, your
yeah.
sister-in-law.
She's 78, so her traveling days are over. So we went to see her. Yes.
My oh my. So I'm guessing that your wife is the youngest in her family.
Yes, she's 13 years younger.
Wow.
Yes, yes.
Even still, that's
So
uh,
do you have siblings?
I have three siblings. My oldest brother, my second oldest brother, who's also older than me. I'm the third, and then comes my sister.
All right.
My oldest brother has two homes, one in New Jersey and the other at the tip of Long Island,
Okay.
also in New York.
Yes.
And he, I think, is 76 or something like that. He's, I think, 17 years older than me, yeah, something like that. Then my brother is about 5 years older than me. And then oh no, 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 no. And then if you want to put it in front of you, that'll do the trick, maybe. But you look fine to me. My
Yes.
sister is 2 years younger than me.
Okay. Wonderful.
And that's all of us. And my brother, I told you about my brother from New Jersey and Long Island. My other brother lived in Muncie, New York, which is an Orthodox Jewish community neighborhood.
Okay.
Most muchly, I don't know how to say mostly. And my sister lives in Boca Raton, Florida, and my brother actually moved to Boca Raton about a year ago
From Muncie.
from Muncie, right?
Yes. Okay. Great.
And I live in Israel. And what about you?
I'm the eldest of four, and we were all born within 4 years and 2.5 weeks. So we're very close. So
Wow.
we communicate every week. It was really hard on my parents because we all left home within 2 years.
Sure.
And yeah, but my father said, yes, we kept having babies, and we figured out what was causing it, and we put a stop to it. So, yeah, so I love them. My sister lives in Spring by Houston, and my little brother lives in Willis, which is by Spring. And then the middle brother lives in Atlanta, where my parents lived when they were alive. And so,
Really?
yeah.
So you all moved to Texas from Atlanta?
No, to Texas from Zimbabwe. We were all in Illinois, and my parents became missionaries to Rhodesia, which is where my wife is from. And a year and a half later, I got married in 77 and moved to Texas. My sister was already married. She got married at age 17, and her husband was from Texas. So when they returned to the States, they came to Texas. And in fact, we all came to Texas. And my parents remained in Africa for 10 years. And then they moved to Georgia. And so the middle brother moved to be by them.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Your parents moved to Africa to be
Africa,
missionaries.
yes, for 10 years. We helped them the first 2 or 3 years to get a
Now,
church.
what did they do before then?
My father was a pastor in Bloomington, Illinois, halfway between Chicago and St. Louis.
And that's what he started out as. Like he went to seminary, like you pretty
Yeah.
much. Did you? Yeah.
Yeah,
That's your.
I got a bachelor's degree. He went to Bible school after he got out of high school and got married while in school. And
What
then
about your grandfather? Was he also a
he
pastor?
was, he was, I'm a third generation. Yes. But I'm the only one of the three Latta boys that became a preacher, pastor, and my sister married a pastor. So yeah. Anyway, so we started a church in Harare, Zimbabwe, Salisbury, Rhodesia, and 10 years
And
later, my
again,
came
that's
home.
your parents, and how old were you then?
I was 20 when we moved to Rhodesia.
So you were already after high school, and then you went to seminary, and then 2 years of seminary, you said, "Hey, I'm coming with you, mom and dad."
No, I went with them before seminary, before Bible college, and
Ah,
then
you finished.
moved to Texas with my wife, and then I went to college with a family. I did it the hard way.
I'm not
Don't
exactly
recommend
following the
it.
timeline over here.
I don't recommend it. This is why I did not go beyond a bachelor's degree because it's just hard having a family. So,
Sure,
yeah,
sure. I
yeah.
mean, people do get doctorates, and then they're usually married. They're often married by then. Of
Yes, yes.
course, sometimes it takes like 30 years.
Yeah, right. Right.
So again, you were married. You were the oldest, you said. So you were married and you moved with your parents to Rhodesia.
I was single, moved with my parents to Rhodesia with my siblings. My sister was married. So
So she didn't come with you.
she didn't, but after I got married, she came with her husband and my wife and I, we moved to the States. So they kind of like replaced us. They got our bedroom. So anyway, yeah. Yeah.
And
And
your younger siblings were in their late teens or even
yes,
mid-teens.
yes,
Yeah, the four of you all together.
yes. So they were, I was 21 when I returned to the States, and they were 18 and 19 when they returned to the States. Um,
And your parents stayed there.
yes, they did for 10 years total. Yeah.
Wow. So you guys were, like we call them in Israel, Chayalim Bodedim. You were on your own.
Yes, yes. Yeah, my little brother is not kind of happy about that fact, but I think he has done just fine. So yeah.
And how does it work? Your parents just woke up one morning, one of your parents woke up and said, I had a dream. Jesus talked to me. We're leaving to Africa tomorrow. And the other parent said, as a matter of fact, I had the same dream. Let's do it today.
Okay, okay. Well, it actually started before we lived for 4 years in Liberia. So I have to explain how that happened. So my father was pastoring in Moline, Illinois. He built a church building there. It was a church his father had pastored, actually. And two of my brothers were born there. My sister and I were already here. So a missionary came through and spoke to their church about the missions work in Liberia. And the Liberian government, way back in the early 1900s, would allow missionaries to come to the country, but they would assign where they wanted them to go, provided they established a school. This is the way they educated their people. Well, you want a visa? Well, we need a school here. Will you agree to do that? So they did. And so that got the denomination established in the country, but they had no church in the capital city.
Just one
And
second. They
in
did
Monrovia, there was
in
no,
the early 1900s.
yes. So in the 60s, my father learned there was no United Pentecostal Church in Monrovia, Liberia, and he thought something must be done. So he raised $40,000. I was just a little boy. I remember a thermometer in the church foyer of keeping track of how much money they raised. And he had this money, and there was no missionary to go and build this building. So at a pastor's prayer meeting, he attended for his denomination. He requested prayer for Liberia. And this happened two or three prayer meetings. And finally, one of them, whose last name was Muncie, by the way, said, when are you going to obey God and go build that church, Sam Latta? We are sick and tired of these prayer requests. Go and be the answer. So my father reckoned this was a calling. So he began traveling on the side, raising funds and taking his flying lessons. became a pilot, and in 1965 we moved to Liberia, where we lived for 4 years. What an adventure. I was 9 when we went and 13 when we came back. It was just an amazing childhood. And so we moved back to Illinois, where my father pastored another church. And after I got out of high school, I actually left home and moved to Austin. So I was living in Texas, and one day they called me and says, "We feel God is calling us to move to Rhodesia to start a church. It's a much nicer place than Liberia. Would you come with us?" So I did. And in 76 October, we arrived there. And January 21st of 77, I met my wife. And a year later to the day, we were married,
In
which,
Rhodesia.
yes, in Rhodesia. So yesterday was our 46th wedding anniversary, but our 47th friendship anniversary.
How nice.
Yeah, so that's
Malto,
a nutshell,
congratulations.
a big nutshell, but that's it. It all started with Liberia and my dad raising these funds. And so in both countries, churches are going that my father established. So, yeah.
That's
Um,
amazing. That's amazing.
yeah. So
And in Liberia, it's all black over there.
yes, in the 1800s, freed slaves from here moved there and colonized the place. And they went there determined to fight slavery because it was happening all over West Africa, but they wound up enslaving people themselves because life was so hard. And so the two cultures never blended, the native culture and the freedmen's culture. So the freedmen were called the Congo people. For some reason, they call them the Congo people. And the natives were called the country people.
It's
And so the
probably
Congo
maybe
people,
Congo means
ah,
Yemenville, some other place.
yeah,
Anywhere
yeah,
else.
probably. I need to look that up. So the two cultures were problems, and my father used to come home and say, "Man, this place is going to blow up one day," and it did in the 70s. A sergeant in the army named John Doe, of all names, led a revolution and slaughtered tens of thousands of the descendants of the freed slaves. Took over the country. It was brutal, and then in the late 80s through the 90s, there was a 14-year-long civil war that was just horrible. And so now they're one nation, but heartbroken, maimed, and they've started over again. And they're starting to, they may be the only true democratic government. I mean, they respect the laws of elections, and it's not a one-party state like most of Africa is. It's not perfect though. Their weather is tough, but their soil is rich. And so they're starting over again.
How many people live there?
I don't know, but it's 26 languages. So English is their primary language, and their currency is American currency.
They're connected to the dollar.
Yes. Yeah. So there
Hmm.
is the American connection, from the freedmen coming from here. Yeah.
Yeah, so Liberia, let me bring up Wikipedia. It's amazing. The one star, it's like 1 star and 13 stripes or something like that.
Yes. Yes. 13. Yes.
Come on, where are they? 5 million people. That's not a lot.
Yeah. It's not a big country, but rainforests cover the land.
So you did high school there more or less, right? Or middle?
No, it was sixth through the no, fourth through the I was homeschooled 2 years, fourth and fifth grade, and then a private school, sixth and seventh grade. Yeah.
It's amazing.
So the first year we were there, we lived in Fasima, where the first missions base was established until a missionary replacement came, and then we moved to Monrovia, and my dad started working there. Yeah.
And then 10 years, then he came back to somewhere in the United States.
Yes, to Bloomington, Illinois.
Bloomington, Illinois, and then after a while they said, Sam Latta, get out to
Yeah.
stop forcing us to pray so much. Go ahead and do it.
We have another country that does not have a church in the capital city. So that's what happened.
What does that mean? No church of our
Denom
denomination.
Yes. Yes.
But they had plenty of churches, I'm sure.
Yes, they did. Yeah. But none of our denomination.
So are you still connected to that church?
No, no, I'm not. I'm non-denominational.
You've
Uh,
left your denomination?
yes, yes, years ago.
Now, is that just financial and bureaucratic or theological?
Theological.
Really?
Yeah, most denominations have their take on the Bible, and sometimes they diminish parts of the Bible and overemphasize other parts. And I felt I had to leave. My license said it wasn't legit if I didn't agree with him on everything.
Right.
I thought, well, my license isn't legit, so I let it expire. And what I did was I had taught through Galatians verse by verse. And when I was done, I was no longer United Pentecostal. So
Sorry?
when I was done teaching through that book, Paul's letter to the churches in Galatia, I realized I believed what I had taught, and what I taught was not the standard beliefs of our denomination. So, yeah. You know how humans are. They form camps and tend
No,
to.
that I know. I know that. I hadn't spent too much time talking to people about it. Usually was, yeah, we Christians, we got 50,000 different denominations.
Uh,
That's about as far as that goes.
yeah.
But somebody, and I have a friend, I don't even remember what denomination it is, some kind of Baptist. I don't know what, maybe not. I don't even know if it's somebody in Dallas who I would meet with. I think they have a university. Is it South Baptist University, something like that? I don't even remember.
Oh, Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary in Fort
No, no,
Worth.
no. I don't think so. I don't think so. It's a university, not a seminary.
Okay.
So this guy, behold, but it is a little bit got some Christian stuff in it. Anyway, this guy, I would meet with him. He's a professor of something, and he was also connected to some Christian denomination. He said our denomination is about to explode. It's about to
Uh,
split. Maybe even heard of it of it because they kept on saying it's going to split. It's going to split. I'm sure it's split by now. I have to give him a call and talk a little bit about it.
so
But
Southern.
anyway, he was saying that these people were. It was mostly a question of money because the Americans didn't wanted to split, but the people all over the world didn't want to split because they were getting the money from America. I don't know exactly how it worked.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But you're
So
saying a simple reading of the Bible said, Habibi, you guys are reading the Bible wrong.
yeah, yes, the New Testament they were playing games with, I thought, and I respect them. They did me no harm. I had no problems when I left, except with my dad for a while, a few years. It was
I'll bet.
intense. He thought he had failed as a father, and he hadn't failed at all.
Oh.
So anyway, so can I just share my quick take on denominations, why there are so many?
Okay. And
So
then maybe I'll share mine.
okay, yes, do that. So the churches began in Jerusalem and then scattered from there. So the church in Jerusalem lived communally for 8 years because there was people there for the festival of Shavuot. And so they lived communally to be able to survive and thrive. And so during these 8 years, it was like a big Bible school, so to speak. And then they eventually went back home and formed congregations across the Roman Empire. And Paul was one of the emissaries that traveled establishing churches. And he always went to where the synagogue was. That was his launching pad. And
Sure.
those Jews and proselytes and those God-fearers, Gentiles,
Yes.
that believed what he said, he would establish a church there. So the church operated organically for 300 years under severe persecution from the Romans, as did the Jews, right? And then Constantine gets an idea, if you can't beat him, join him. So he brings their leaders together and tries to help them organize and makes persecution something illegal. Well, it didn't work past his reign, but two or three Caesars, shall we call them, two or three dictators later, Christianity became the official religion of the Roman Empire. And this was
Not
not,
Constantine himself?
he attempted, but his son didn't exactly follow in his footsteps. So it didn't take hold. So the church is very relieved of persecution being over. They reckon this is a good thing. Meanwhile, they're getting hijacked. And so fast forward hundreds of years, they're completely devoid of the Bible and they're killing Jews. They're just horrible things are happening in the name of Jesus, but actually it was in the name of Rome. And so, and then eventually the eastern part of the church split. Now that's where you get the Orthodox churches from the
Oh,
Western
that split
church.
in after Rome.
Yeah, in 1100 AD, there was a
Ooh, what?
around that. And so the Western part of the church, the Roman Catholic Church, they hate to be called that now, but that's what they are. The Roman Catholic Church,
Why?
uh,
Why do they hate
they're
to be
the true
called the
church.
Roman Catholic Church? They're in
They're
Rome. They're
based
based
in
in
Rome.
Rome, and they're Catholic. Well, what's
Yeah,
wrong with that?
yes, 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 they're based in Rome. So the Orthodox says they're the real church to this day, and the Roman Catholics say they're the real church to this day.
Mhm.
Well, they can trace their roots back to Constantine, but they try to trace them back to Jerusalem, but you can't skip Constantine in doing that. So it was a hijacking. So in the meantime, there are uh, Bible believing people, what part of the Bible they had. And during the Crusades, where they went to conquer the Holy Land back from the Muslims, the emissaries of the church at that time, the Roman Catholics, killed non-denominational Christians along the way and Jews
Yeah,
all the way to
we
Jerusalem
remember it mostly the Jews. We didn't think too much. We don't know too much about anybody else.
on the way. So they just want whoever doesn't believe in us, they're it. So along the way, different men would raise up and they would be killed. And John Hus, while he was burned at the stake, declared within 100 years there will be a voice raised up that you will not be able to wipe out. And of course, that 100 years later was Martin Luther. Now he had his imperfections, horrible imperfections. Um, he believed that he could convert the Jews by persuading the rabbis. And no, I don't think so. I don't think so. Anyway, so that was a split. He didn't want to leave the Roman Catholic Church. He wanted to reform it, and he got the boot. And then from his midst, similar things happened. And they couldn't reform his branch of the church, so they got the boot. So, in my mind, here's how I see it. There's been a long journey away from Roman Catholicism. And whatever point away from it they arrive, a denomination is formed. Not that that was their intent to begin with. So now we have hundreds of denominations. And I don't throw rocks at them. I try to cooperate with them as much as I can. But yeah. So anyway,
Hundreds or tens of thousands?
what's that?
Hundreds of denominations or tens of thousands?
I would say thousands. Um, I don't know if there's tens of thousands, but yeah. So now there's splits for other reasons. There's people going liberal, the United Methodist Church. Maybe you're talking about Southern
That's
Methodist.
maybe what I was talking about.
Yeah, the United Methodist Church is splitting, but basically it's splitting within congregations. So our town had two large United Methodist churches and two groups that wanted to stay with their understanding of the Bible and not ordain lesbians and justify people changing their gender. So they formed two new congregations and left their buildings. And then the people in the building also left the denomination. So now we have four Methodist churches, none of which are United Methodist. So yeah, it's painful. It's just been painful. And so in that sense, it's over what they would call biblical orthodoxy versus let's modernize the church here. Let's get with it. Let's become popular with the secular world. And if they look at other groups that are doing this, it's killing their groups to do this. But anyway. So there's the dichotomy, or the two things are the journey away from Roman Catholicism and stopping somewhere along that journey, and the journey away from biblical orthodoxy and just throwing it all out. So anyway, what's your take on all this?
Well, probably something a little bit like that, but I think it's mostly a charismatic leader. People follow him, and then he just creates his own denomination.
Yeah.
Sometimes he says that God talked to him,
Yeah. Okay.
or an angel talked to him, or it didn't. I mean, there was this one guy, Scientology, I think that he invented it from whole cloth or something like that.
Yes, yes.
And then of course the money comes in, and then it pushes people to say, well, I really want the money, but I can't say that. So let's find. Oh, and then of course somebody said, hey, I got a great idea. Let's make statements of faith. And then, oh, you don't have a good. All right, wait a second. Does it you put the comma there instead of there, huh? That's not the same statement as faith. Got to start a new denomination.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
And with Judaism, people say, well, you got your schisms, we got our schisms. It's not the same thing at all. Because if you believe in, that's not even the right way to start it out. First of all, Judaism is primarily an ethnic family. It's
Okay.
not a race, but it's a family, really. Just like your wife's family married into your family, as it were. So that's what's going on with us. Primarily, we like to intramarry, stay within Judaism, but there are people who are converting all over all the time. So you can't call it a race. And even ethnic, even I like to call it ethnically, but that's also not right. And we have a lot of arguments about that.
Yeah.
But the main difference is, the main schism is, are you following the lifestyle and the life instructions that our rabbinic leaders, who ostensibly were ordained way back from Moses, and Moses from Abraham, and as much as you can, believe in certain tenets of belief. Maimonides, in the 800 years ago or so, in the 21st century, so about the 13th century or so, 12th century, decided that he was going to create a statement of faith. So that statement of faith exists, and we even sing it daily in some synagogues. But mostly it's not a question of faith; it's a question of action.
Okay.
And really, it's a question, and so and it's a question of a belonging. In other words, I feel comfortable belonging to my Orthodox community. And the way it works in my Orthodox community is you send your kids to the Orthodox school, and you keep the Sabbath. You don't drive your car on Sabbath, and you're a member of the Orthodox synagogue. But mostly it's a question of, this is the one I'm comfortable with for most people, I think. I mean, to really break, in the old days, people didn't know anything in America. So to switch from Orthodox to Reform wasn't a big theological difference or a big change in your actions. I barely, I didn't really keep the Torah by the Orthodox, so I won't keep the Torah by the Reform. Not such a big deal. But and any schisms within Orthodoxy, they're minute, because bottom line is, where do you go when it's time to pray your afternoon prayer? And that's it. So that's anybody who prays the afternoon prayer, that's already a relatively low hurdle. to go over. But if you're praying the afternoon prayer, then you're good enough for me, as they say.
Yeah.
And the various heterodox thing, the people like you were talking about getting further and further away. It took them 3,500 years or close to 4,000 years or something like that to get to where you guys got to way at the beginning, and then kept on going. So now you have, reform and reconstructionist and new wave and new age, but still you can't get too much to that, because the original people who were splitting your denominations, they were serious about this stuff. They were
Yeah.
serious about what they believed.
Yes.
The heterodox, they mostly believe, they're mostly serious about their politics.
Heterodox, you speaking of the ultra orthodox that I'm
No,
thinking?
hetero means, I think that's what it means. It means not orthodox.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. The opposite. Okay. Yeah. So
Yeah. And the ultra orthodox, they're orthodox.
yeah.
I'm grateful for them because they keep the synagogue. There are a lot more. They have plenty of synagogues, and sometimes their synagogues they have plenty of afternoon services, so I can show up whenever I want and I can pray my afternoon service. I'm okay if I'm on the road.
Yeah.
But there are other issues with the ultra orthodox. Everybody's got their issues, but I think it's mostly because we feel like we're a family. We're all part of the family, and of course, it doesn't hurt that we were persecuted. All of us come from the history of being persecuted. Not to mention today, we're all being persecuted by the Hamas and by the world anti-Semites. So it's hard to be to split too much,
Yes.
as much as we're trying.
Common enemies unify us for sure. Yeah. So on the denominational level is the greatest division. If you go to statements of faith, a lot of denominations are not that different from each other. Now, on the local level, it depends on the pastor, the leaders. Some are more elite, I guess, in their approach to things than I am. And so, because I was raised in a group that was elitist, I missed out on what was called the Jesus movement. A movie is about that now. And so I kind of feel gypped by elitism. So I've always attempted to befriend everyone. In fact, in the 31 years we've pastored here, my wife and I have ministered at 15 other congregations in Granbury, either by leading worship, music, communion, whatever, or preaching, and some of them multiple times. I've even
Because you were invited over.
I was invited. Yeah, yeah. Bring your guitar and come. The Catholics invited me over to come and lead singing 7 Sunday nights in a row.
Wow.
And yeah, so it's been fun. I enjoy the different expressions of the church here in our town. So yeah,
Well, that's very, very interesting.
yeah.
And here and so you broke off from, what was the name of your church, or what was the
The United Pentecostal Church.
United Pentecostal?
Yes, the United one.
Whenever you see the word United, you know what it really is.
It's generally two groups came together and they call it United. So two
Uh,
churches of Methodism came together and formed the United Methodist Church, and now they're going through a division. So yeah, it's part of it's our human personalities, and some of it is what you call doctrinal or practical application. Got to think.
so you're when you say you're non-denomination, you're also totally independent.
I am independent, but I have a pastor who watches out for my soul, and he preaches for us. And so I kind of have the best of both worlds, the freedom of being independent, but the safety of being accountable to an older man. Actually, I'm accountable to 3 or 4 older men.
No, that's very
So,
good.
so if I leave the faith and must be removed, they would help find a replacement. So,
That's also very good.
so the church itself is overseen by elders, overseers who help me. I'm one of them. And so they would take over from me if I die or whatever. Um, and then they would relate to our spiritual fathers to help negotiate these troubled waters at which we find ourselves. So God forbid that that should ever
God
happen.
forbid. What is the name of your church?
Generations Church.
Ah, now there are no other. That's a nice name. It sounds it's
Yeah,
snappy.
we thought we were the only one in America. And I did find one in Cape Town, a Generations Church. So I thought we were the only one. And so we call ourselves Generations Church. Before that, we had the name of our mother church, Shady Grove Church, which was their name of their location. So when we built our building after 10 years, we built 3.5 miles from a road in Granbury called Shady Grove Road. So it was creating confusion in the community. So our building program was called Building a Place for the Generations. So it was just a natural fit to switch to that. So after we officially became Generations, developed our website, a church in California called us and said, "Hey, we let our domain name expire and you guys have it. Can we have it back?" So, so I said, "I'm so sorry, but no." Now there's dozens of Generations churches all over the place. I don't think they're copying us, but it's a good name. God's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and Joseph, and his descendants.
That's
Yeah.
right.
And the word generations is all through the First Testament, the
Of
Hebrew Scripture.
course.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
How many people, families are affiliated with your church, approximately?
I don't know how many families, but over 300 are affiliated with us, but we had probably had 150 with us yesterday morning.
Oh, very nice.
They don't all attend.
But are you a member of some sort of a non-denominational coalition or something like that? Even
Well,
has not just so that I don't know.
yeah, I'm part of two apostolic networks that are led by these spiritual fathers. I don't call them father, but these are men that the elders could appeal to for help if they find themselves with a pastor, you know.
Yeah, well, not only for but like I don't know.
So yeah, some part of network, and so we meet occasionally for encouragement. Like one of the networks has a weekly Zoom call that is encouraging that I participate in on Thursday
That's
afternoons.
very nice.
And the other network has a Sunday morning text that comes in at 7 a.m. with an encouraging word from the leader. And they have a conference once a year that I attend.
Oh,
The Zoom call network used to meet in a location every month, but now it's a weekly Zoom call, and they meet in a location once a year for a retreat.
very nice. And how many people show up to something like that?
They may have 50 people.
So in the United States, in the Orthodox community, there's a some sort of an organization called Young Israel. That's what they called it.
Okay.
And they decided that wow, we'll brand this or something like that. So you have Young Israels all over the United States and probably a few other places outside of the United States, so a few in Israel also. But it's not only for sure, and probably only if at all has to do with keeping your keeping on the high and level or whatever, as far as your faith is concerned, but it's other things. It's like making sure that you have getting a good deal for insurance, or maybe here's a way we found a cheap guy who'll do lighting for churches or something like that. You know what I mean? Much
Yeah.
more fun, much more financial.
Yes. So when we meet, there's people that come to advise us. So one network is called the Revive Network. The other network is called the Church on the Rock Network. Now, when it comes to our youth in the summertime, we take our youth to a youth camp,
Uh-huh.
and that varies, but it's usually always a non-denominational youth camp, uh, depending on the speakers and where it is and the value for the dollar. Our youth will go to that and get fellowship otherwise. And then locally, our youth fellowship with other youth groups occasionally at different events of all denominations here in the city. So,
Very interesting.
So I don't think we're the model for America, but I think it is unusual to having preached 15 other places or ministered within one city. And that just speaks well of our city, not of me.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah. So we have a ministerial alliance that has no teeth. It's just kind of a community thing. And I've been president of that a few times, and that's fun. Yeah. So, and
Well,
that's where the liberal pastors will meet with the conservative ones
gotcha.
on a congenial level. So it's
That's
kind
good. That's important. For God's sakes, we're not just because I'm meeting with you, it doesn't mean that I agree with you, and doesn't mean that you
yeah.
know, if I don't meet with you, then who else am I going to meet with? How am I going to be able to meet with other people?
Yeah. So if a rabbi was in town, he would be welcome to be part of the group, but a mullah, not so much.
How often does that group meet?
Once a month, the third Tuesday of the month for lunch. And we have a speaker, and parachurch ministries come to it as well. Food pantries, private schools, job training corps. So there's always a speaker related to somebody who's part of the group.
Or a guest speaker?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind the next time I come to Granbury, third Tuesday of the month, you say?
Yes.
You'll
Yes.
say, well, I got a rabbi from Israel. Maybe he'll give a speech.
There you go. There you go.
We'll
Yeah.
keep that in mind. I think I don't know how it's going to work because every day that passes, I'm busy with other stuff. But my niece, I might have told you this, my niece is getting married at the end of May. So I don't know. I'm probably going to spend the better part of 3 weeks in the United States. So either before the 26th or so, which is a Sunday, and then the 1st of June is another part of the wedding. So after the first week of June and the last 2 weeks of May, I'm going to be in the United States, and and hopefully I'll spend some time in my favorite place in Dallas and Granbury.
Is she in New York or Florida?
So my sister is in Florida, but my niece moved to New York. Is
Okay.
getting married to a guy whose parents live in New York. And so they're going to get married in New York on Sunday or Monday. I'm still not sure.
Okay.
And then on Shabbat, the Shabbat afterwards, we have a week-long celebration. And then they're going to have a celebration in Florida.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to be doing.
All right. Well, let me know.
Well, but
Generally, the alliance takes a break in June and July and they don't meet. So let me know and I'll let you know if that happens.
okay,
I'm
hopefully
not the
they'll,
president.
well, how many people show up to those meetings?
There was 16 last week. Yeah,
That's small. Okay. So even if 5 people show up, even if 2 people show up, it's worth it.
yeah,
So, yalla. Spoke
yeah,
for a nice long time. It was very interesting hearing your perspective of history of the church, really, and your history of your own self and your history of your church. I got a little bit of a history lesson here today.
yes, yeah.
Okay, see you, gosh, in a month.
Okay, thank you so much.
Shalom, shalom.